how a regenerative economy is scaling up. And even though we have so many bad news and so much suffering in the world, there is also, I think, really very realistic cause for hope because these solutions are scaling up. And so I want to talk about how we go from many nice examples of a different economic and business reality to a new mainstream of business, because there is really no other game. If you look around and you see what causes so much suffering, the economy and businesses keep coming up all the time, because this is where life happens. It happens in our day-to-day consumption, our day-to-day work, our production, all of these activities. And so if they don't change, our life will not change. So this is a very grounded activity. And I got to this by growing up in Germany as one of the first generations that faced the Holocaust in a real way, in the Second World War, and the reasons for the Second World War, many of which were very much economic, and they had to do with supply chains and markets. And we have more the idea of ideology and the politics, but if you look into it, it had a lot to do with the economy, and it also had a lot to do with this extreme fake male identity, right? And so we were very aware as young teenagers growing up in this that we didn't want to be like these men that were our fathers and grandfathers and teachers and many people around us. But it was not easy to find out, what is it really a man? What is really a woman? What are female and male qualities, and how do they translate into capacity of action? And so 40 years ago, I started a deep inquiry into myself, each other, life, and used various methods of psycho-spiritual work, but also especially action and connection in the world, because I think that is actually our predominant spiritual path. We think of meditation and contemplation and many other things, but what do we do the whole day long? We are in action and connection, and that's how we develop. That's what challenges, that's what supports us, and I think we have to start thinking much more of a mindful, aware, conscious type of action, and then we can empower our transformation individually and collectively much stronger. And we really need that for a new economy, because a new economy isn't primarily new technology. Of course, technology is very important, but it is really people evolving, relationships evolving, and their connection then, of course, also with the creativity that then brings up the different innovations in technology. And as we know, we can use them for really good stuff and also really bad stuff, and we are doing both at the moment. So after I grew up, I was part of an industrial group of companies that's now over 140 years old, centered in Southeast Asia, bringing products from mostly Europe and North America, companies like Siemens, Carrier, Merck, many others, into Southeast Asia. And so as I took over responsibility with my brother in the leadership of this group of companies, I also realized, of course, that I wanted to ask myself the question, what does never again look like for me? How can I really take responsibility, since I had so much privilege, so much agency, so much capacity to lead? And responsibility, I think, comes with these opportunities. And I realized I can't really turn my company into a fully sustainable company if the system around us, if markets if the whole environment doesn't evolve along. And so I actually made the choice to focus primarily on shifting markets, shifting systems, and left the leadership of the companies to my brother, and so created the first alliances of business leaders and owners across Europe and North and South America, which are the markets that orient the companies to behave in one way or the other, right? Because companies follow markets, and markets is us. So if we want different things, then companies will do different things, and then the economy will change. If we vote for different things as voters, then we will have different policies that empower that behavior. So really, it's a mass phenomenon, and those of you in business, of course, understand what I'm talking about, and I think everybody more and more understands how it is all an interactive system and that you have to work on it systemically. And while we can focus on particular topics, whether it's identity or whether it's gender or whether it's the climate or whether it's biodiversity or whatever it is, we have to also always take a step back and realize how these are all interconnected. And the wonderful news really is that in the regenerative economy, the solutions that we find address actually multiple challenges. So in the examples that I will move now to, you can really see that. And so I want to start with a company, and I want to talk especially about the Global South, because I think we are too focused on the Global North and thinking that solutions come from smart places like Harvard and Cambridge and all these wonderful universities that are very smart, and they have a lot to contribute. But actually, most of the solutions we need come from the Global South, because that's also where the challenges are, and challenges always bring also the solutions. Solutions are not something theoretical. Solutions are born from the need to solve something, to evolve something. And when you look, for example, in Brazil at Natura, it's a wonderful company that creates very sustainable and more regenerative, meaning regenerative, you regenerate, you bring back to life, you repair systems of life, whether it's individual people, whether it's societies, nature, climate. It's not enough anymore to just sustain. We need to regenerate these systems, and when they're actually fully regenerated, when they're healthy again, then they sustain themselves. Because life by itself is sustaining unless we badger it so much that it can't sustain itself anymore. So Natura has this amazing capacity to create products, but what's even more interesting, and it became from a Brazilian mission-driven startup, the fourth largest beauty group in the world. So they now own also Avon, and they own The Body Shop, and they own Aesop. And when we developed their 2030 vision together, we were very aware that it's also one of the biggest women's movement in the world, because the products of Natura itself are being distributed by micro-entrepreneurial women, mostly, 97%, that often didn't have much opportunity in life, and through the support system that Natura is, became successful entrepreneurs, showing that women can be very successful in business, can be empowered, can be modeled for many other women in their communities, in which often there is a very limited image of who women are. So 2 million women just in Natura, now with these other companies, over 7 million women around the world in over 100 countries, right? So that's a ripple effect. So that's something that we can co-create. Another amazing example is a huge women's initiative in Andhra Pradesh in India, where my friend Vijay Kumar, who used to be in the government and then retired and continued the work on an even larger scale, has helped 650,000 women farmers on very small scale farms to increase their productivity from 1 harvest to 3 harvests, increase their income by 80%, completely transform the quality of their life. Now, this has a lot to do with the technology of regenerative agriculture. But what really made the difference wasn't just this technology. It was the women groups coming together, supporting each other, where the women farmers become the coaches for the other women farmers. So he's scaling, this movement is now scaling to 1 million farms this year and way beyond that. And regenerative agriculture, by the way, is an amazing solution for the climate. It is actually the best solution because it actually sequesters vast amount of carbon, because when you are improving the soil, then the soil sucks in the carbon. So it is a solution for the quality of life of farmers, the quality of health of the farmers and people eating the food, and for many other topics, including also, of course, community development. So what Kristen was saying is we are organizing this solution summits around COP27, and as you know, COP can be quite frustrating. Like a lot of UN processes can be frustrating because it's not easy to do something with hundreds of countries and governments and people together, and yet we have to continue supporting that and not pull away into isolation. These multilateral processes are absolutely essential, and when economic players work together with UN leaders at the Paris COP and in the many years leading up to it, they actually created a very, very significant outcome, the convention, the climate convention in Paris. And so we have to keep going in that direction, and that's why we are pulling together leaders from around the world that have solutions and that learn from each other's solutions. And so we are creating this Solutions Summit in Cairo from November 5 to 6, and then we will have 10 days of events during COP, and we very intentionally, in addition to being part of the Blue Zone and Green Zone official events and all of that, we rented a villa with a huge garden on the ocean, and every evening we're going to host real deep dialogues with organic food, with Arabian music, with people having time after the super stressful and intense days to come together and to be real people together. Because it's the real relationships that then give us the strength to move forward, right? Because it's difficult, really difficult, to move towards change. So we need each other, we need our friendship, we need this love that's coming with the stars and that is present in this room. And so we will actually also do a regenerative leadership retreat at an amazing community called Sekhem. And it's just outside of Cairo. And 40 years ago, there was an absolute desert. And then this desert was developed into an amazing oasis. And now there are companies and the largest sustainable development university in the whole region and many other wonderful things. And what they have in common is what I call regenerative value creation. You create value for all stakeholders, and you do it in a way where your business success and the economic development builds on your regeneration of people, societies, and nature. And with that, I have 5 seconds left.